Congressman, the Budget Committee holding a hearing on the fiscal State of the Union today. What are you expecting to get out of this? Who is going to be speaking? Tell us about this budget hearing.
Well, I think we're going to see how rapidly our financial health is deteriorating as a country.
Just take a look at the CBO's February 23 economic and budget outlook. And the economic assumptions are very reasonable. The budget outlook is unsustainable.
What was the response from the American people? Have they just gotten so numb to the debt clock ticking away with no major significant or serious consequences?
They know you can't spend more money than you make, charge to the credit card without having a day of reckoning. They are willing to accept tough choices.
A default will take place when we can no longer borrow, when we can no longer sell our debt, or when we can no longer make our payments.
Inflation is caused by too many dollars chasing too few goods. When this administration took office, inflation stood at 1.4%. The Democrats then printed and spent trillions of dollars that we didn't have. Inflation in the last 25 months is up about 15% total.
Is it true that next year our interest on the debt alone will cause our spending to go up $100 billion compared to this year?
That sounds about right. And within 10 years, we'll be spending more on interest than national defense.
I can think of no higher responsibility that we have as members of Congress to ensure that the United States of America passes on to the next generation a country that is in good fiscal condition.
We have an opportunity, I know there's bipartisan support, to be able to do what other leaders of our nation have done in the past and address this issue and get us going back down.
The next generation of Americans may not be able to sustain us in the style to which we've become accustomed.
By the time you fold in all of these tax credits, it's going to be a net benefit to the largest corporate citizens in America and around the world.
Would be potentially each generation doing worse than the generation before and have a dramatic impact on people's lives and freedom potentially as well.
I think the American people need to deserve to hear a few pieces of the truth.
I think that we would all agree that the general theme here today is that we're in dire straits. It continues to be an addiction to spending.
This country has record revenues this year. We don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem.
In order to achieve economic growth, is it better or worse to have a larger federal bureaucracy?
Oh, goodness, no. Right now, we have a government that's draining the private sector of productive capital.
The fiscal State of the Union is not good, that it's embarrassing, that continuing increasing debt to GDP drives up the actual interest rate that the federal government has to pay for borrowing.
But what we can do is take basically a non-Biden budget that's unacceptable to pretty much everybody, including his clean debt limit, which makes no sense at all.
It says you cannot help the poor man by destroying the rich man. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You can't lift the wage earner up by pulling the wage payer down. You can't build character and courage by taking away people's initiative and independence. And you can't help people permanently by doing for them what they could and should be doing for themselves. And you can't further the brotherhood of man by inciting class hatred.
You're not able to pay your heating bills. You're not able to pay your, all the things that it takes to raise your family. Am I correct in that assessment?
Absolutely. Everyone's standard of living will decline.
I think this is the most important conversation, if not one of the most conversations that is going on in the people's capital.